Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what I'm doing right now to lose body fat and lose weight while retaining all of my muscle mass. And it really is a lot simpler than people make it out to be. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Because yeah, a few people said, hey, you look like you're getting bigger. I'm not getting bigger, guys. I promise you I'm not getting bigger. In fact, all my clothes are getting baggier. I am down 20 pounds. Yet I'm lifting the same weight, I'm retaining muscle, I'm 40 years old, while I'm maintaining performance fairly well, maintaining all my muscle mass, I'm not losing muscle while being down 20 pounds. I was going to wait another 10 pounds to discuss this, but I realize there are people asking about it. I should probably talk about it. I was going to wait till I was down 30 pounds, but I'm pretty well on this journey. I don't see it stopping anytime soon, and I'm not finding it particularly difficult to do. I've just had to learn to manage my time effectively to do so. And that's the thing. When you're more advanced as a lifter, it becomes more and more difficult to hold on to muscle mass when you need to cut body fat. That's one of the reasons I tell guys, if you're going to worry about your body composition in the long term, you need to be very, very careful about bulking, because it's difficult to not lose muscle when you cut. Now, what I'm doing is relatively simple. What I'm doing is that I'm eating as much as I possibly can while losing weight, and that's one of the big keys. People can argue all day long about just calories in, calories out, but the fact of the matter is, food is anabolic. What are the most anabolic sources of food? Protein and carbs. Protein and carbs, and after a certain threshold, protein doesn't even become as anabolic as carbs do. Why? Because protein is not a particularly good training source to fuel your muscles during intense training. It doesn't increase glycogen stores nearly as effectively. It tends to be broken down by the liver. The liver gets first priority of the glucose when surplus protein's eaten. Doesn't hydrate your muscles as well. So in other words, retaining water in your muscle tissue, retaining glycogen in your muscle tissue after your protein needs to make sure that your body's not breaking down tissue proteins have been met, needs to be made. Insulin is, incidentally, people want to talk about insulin like it's a fat storage hormone. Insulin is more anabolic to your muscle tissue if you train than it is to your fat tissue. In other words, on the same calories, if your diet is more insulinogenic, you will retain muscle better. And this has been looked at closely by a lot of experts. In fact, even Alan Aragon pointed out a study that was done years ago on white rice versus brown rice on guys losing weight. The guys on the white rice retained muscle slightly better. They had slightly better nitrogen retention. Why? It's insulinogenic. Alright, so what am I doing? I'm eating an enormous amount of carbs. Eating an enormous amount of carbohydrates. My diet is probably 70% carbohydrates right now. My dietary fat is very, very low. Why? Why low fat? Fat doesn't fuel performance very well. It fuels low intensity performance, but you know what? I have body fat to handle those needs. You know what? I have enough body fat. I don't need to eat dietary fat, very much of it, in order to handle my body's needs for fat for fuel. I do, however, need glucose. I'm avoiding becoming glycogen depleted because carbs fuel training better. They fuel energy better than your other fuel sources do. They're more insulinogenic. All right. If you have a high insulin sensitivity from weight training, carbs spare muscle tissue. So basically, I am carbing up hard and I am doing huge amounts of physical activity. And ask any expert out there, I don't care whether it's Alan Aragon, Eric Helms, even Layne Norton, every one of them tell you the exact same thing. When you are losing body fat, keep your carbs as high as you can get away with. As high as you can get away with. Why? They'll preserve muscle, they'll preserve performance. In fact, I go so far as to say it's better to do more physical activity and burn more calories so that you can eat more carbs if your goal is to retain muscle mass. And that's exactly what I'm doing. When I say do a lot, you guys get an idea of my training. My weight training is there just to preserve muscle tissue. I train 3 to 4 times a week. Only 2 of those sessions are really hard. The other 2 tend to be milder stuff, just a bunch of clean and overhead presses, stuff like that. A lot of chin-ups. I do chin-ups every day. But it's just retaining. I'm not trying to push myself in the gym. I'm using fatigue management. I'm not pushing anything hard. I'm not trying to go for PRs. I'm not trying to go for grinders. I'm just trying to lift enough to maintain my performance. If I can maintain my performance through training without overreaching and by consuming enough carbs, I'm holding on to all of my muscle mass. I'm also incidentally not losing water weight either. Not losing bloat out of the muscles because my carbs are high. When you're carb depleted, you lose more water weight. Even if you're doing real high proteins, you tend to lose water. Losing water isn't ideal for metabolism. It's not ideal for performance. My goal is to burn as many calories as humanly possible. So what does that mean? Less cardio. Less cardio has the lowest impact on your total fatigue. You can do tons of it. You can burn 1,000 calories, 1,500 calories a day doing less cardio without it impacting your fatigue or adaptation to your weight training. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing 2 or 3 hours of less cardio every day. I'm averaging, probably according to my bikes and stuff, 1,500 plus calories every day. Some days 2,000 calories on my bike. And now people say, oh, you must be pedaling it on the lowest setting. No, I have it on the highest setting possible. Keep in mind, guys, I have really, really strong legs. I mean, I've repped out 315 for over 20 reps with ass to grass pause squats before. Okay, I have pretty good leg strength, pretty good leg stamina. So I'm using that to my advantage. I'm using the strength and stamina in my legs to burn through calories. And so, yeah, I'm on my bike up to 3 hours every day, up to 3 hours a day. In fact, I would say most days 3 hours, at least 5 days a week, I break the 3-hour mark or more, doing less cardio and just strength training in between. You guys get an idea of my workouts. So my overall strategy is to keep protein relatively high. I shoot for about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for me, that means I shoot for about 200, 220 grams of protein a day. That's still less than 1 gram per pound of body weight, because what does the data show? We don't really need that much unless you're ultra lean. I'm not ripped. I don't need to go above that to retain muscle. That leaves me more room for carbs. I keep my fat at actually what most people would consider to be excessively low. I would say at least 5 days a week I eat less than 25 grams of fat. About once a week I eat a bunch of fat. Once a week in the evening at a social gathering or two, I eat wings. I eat chicken wings, eat a little bit of pizza. Other than that, it's carbs, 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 carbs. What types of carbs? Everything. Potatoes, brown rice with white rice, whole wheat pasta, watermelon, bananas, bread. Most of my bread is whole wheat, but I do have some tortillas because I go get fajitas a couple times a week, which you guys see up on Instagram. But I don't eat the chips, I don't eat the queso, I don't eat the cheese. But fajitas are generally really lean flank steak, which is usually your leanest cut of steak. So I eat that, I eat a fair amount of chicken, a fair amount of fat-free dairy. But other than that, it's carbs. Most of my diet is carbs. I avoid eating simple sugars, refined sugars for the most part. Maybe a little bit in sauces here and there. But I'm probably eating 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day. All right, it depends. It varies from day to day. There are days where I probably only eat 3,000, but there's also days where I do less activity. But the whole point is that I'm doing so much physical activity and eating so many carbohydrates that it allows me to fuel my training. And what do I always tell you guys? If you keep your carbs really high, your metabolic rate stays highest, your performance stays highest. You're going to be able to burn more calories on a higher carbohydrate diet. And it's not just me saying that. Every expert in sports science says that. All these experts who even prep a lot of the natty bodybuilders, what are they telling you guys? The exact same thing. Yes, it's calories in, calories out. But people who eat a lot of carbs, who are well conditioned, can burn a hell of a lot more calories than if you cut your carbs back. And if your training is on point, you maintain your strength, your metabolism is going to stay high, you're going to retain your muscle mass, you're going to keep intermuscular water, and virtually everything that you lose on the scale is going to be body fat. And that's what I'm doing. I'm using just sheer massive volumes of physical activity to burn an extra 1,500 plus calories every single day, 7 days a week, while managing my fatigue. And again, you manage the fatigue by getting enough sleep, keeping your carbs as high as possible, watching how hard you train in the gym, and whatever energy you have left over, you do low intensity cardio. Burn through the calories. All right, and if you do that, you don't feel deprived, because I'll be honest, I go to bed full every night. Because of what I'm eating a lot of high satiety foods. My diet's pretty low in fat, pretty high in fiber, pretty high in protein, and everything else is just filling carbs. I mean, potatoes are filling. Eat 1,000 calories of just oven-baked potatoes with a little sea salt on it and come back and tell me it's not pretty filling. Most of you are going to be full if you just sat down and in one meal just ate 1,000 calories of potatoes. You would probably almost throw up. So it's possible to do stuff like this and stay full. Same thing, watermelon. Eat 1,000 calories of watermelon in one sitting with a little chicken breast on the side. Again, you're going to find it's very filling. But you're consuming foods at that point that are going to fuel your training, that are anabolic, and you're avoiding foods that aren't going to help you train harder and maintain muscle mass. And if you can do that and keep your energy turnover high enough, you're going to burn through fat while still eating very high calories. And like people always say, you need to practice what you preach. Well, okay, I'm doing it right now. I'm down 20 pounds. I'm still losing. I just finished 2 hours of cardio just now. So I'll probably do another hour later before bedtime. But that's exactly what I'm doing. That's the strategy I'm using. Ultra high carbs, low fat, large volumes of low intensity cardio, true endurance work to just keep burning through fat. And that's a proven recipe for success. It's worked for athlete after athlete after athlete all around the world under the top coaches. It is probably the most successful method that you can use that allows you to consume the highest possible calories and retain the most muscle mass. And my performance is just fine. Yeah, I occasionally have a workout to where I'm getting fatigued near the end, but my lifts overall are pretty decent. My energy's pretty good. I'm doing good with it. So that's all that there is to it. It's pretty straightforward. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.